pushing me. They're pushing me.
There's no more infamous and flagrant example of free speech violations on campus committed by students and faculty.
You don't have a right to take our photos.
Actually, he does.
Have you found yourself having to explain, sometimes to a younger generation, why all speech is protected, not just speech that they want to be protected?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I think it's actually a common belief among many younger people that hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment.
For those who cannot bear to hear speech they disagree with, critics have popularized the term snowflakes.
Welcome to Utopia U. At Utopia University, there are no violent words to hurt me.
I will punch you if you're a fascist.
Today, we look at both sides of snowflake syndrome.
More than 2.5 million people will die across the country this year. Many are collecting some form of government benefit at the time of their death.
How much taxpayer money is the government incorrectly paying to dead people?
I'm not sure anybody has a real firm grasp as to how much it is, but we know it's hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's probably over time a whole lot more than that.
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Cheryl Atkinson. For a generation that demands safe spaces, that equates ideas they don't like to actual physical battery and requires trigger warnings for class assignments that might be upsetting, there's a name: Snowflakes. Easily offended, they're turning free speech on its head in a way that's shocking even some civil rights activists. But is snowflake syndrome exaggerated? We hear all sides in today's cover story. November 2015, the University of Missouri.
They're pushing me. They're pushing me.
There's no more infamous and flagrant example of free speech violations on campus committed by students and faculty.
Well, then we will just block you.
The student on the left was bullied and blocked from covering a race-related protest.
You need to go.
Yep.
Students, can you tell him how
You don't have a right to take our photos.
Actually, he does.
I have a job to do. I'm documenting this. This is the First Amendment that protects your right to stand here, protects mine.
You know what? Back up about personal space. Back off. Leave these students alone. Keep guys.
Don't push me.
You said that you're harassing.
You lost this one, bro. Back up. You lost this one, bro.
You're not doing your job.
It's our right to walk forward, isn't it?
Hi, media. Can I talk to you?
No, you need to get out. You need to get out.
No, I don't.
That's Melissa Click, assistant professor for mass media communications, about to call for muscle to handle another reporter.
All right. Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here.
Click was soon fired, but the event punctuated a growing trend: intolerance and censorship in the name of tolerance.
You need to get out.
And free speech.
This is public property.
Campus protests to block speakers from even being heard, and a lack of understanding of fundamental constitutional rights.
You need to go.
So I do think there's a real knowledge gap about how high of a bar the First Amendment really provides for protecting speech.
Lee Rowland is a senior staff attorney at the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU.
Sometimes the ACLU protects speech that is considered very offensive.
Absolutely.
Have you found yourself having to explain, sometimes to a younger generation, why all speech is protected, not just speech that they want to be protected?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I think it's actually a common belief among many younger people that hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment. I have had people say that to my face completely uncritically, right? Well, we all know hate speech isn't protected by the First Amendment.
For those who cannot bear to hear speech they disagree with, critics have popularized the term snowflakes, an insult traced to the 1996 novel Fight Club, later a Brad Pitt film.
You are not special. You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake.
We asked some university students what they think about the snowflake insult.
Yeah, I never heard of it as snowflake. I just hear like my generation of people are just helpless. I feel like in our generation that kind of is true. I feel like a lot of us I feel like we're just really, really pampered, and we're not really ready, like post-graduation life.
I've noticed most of the minority students that I speak to say they feel unsafe, and I personally, I'm a white cisgender woman, and I don't feel the same unsafeness that they would feel just because of the way I look and the way I'm perceived by others.
What about our protection right now?
Last May at Evergreen State College in Washington State, students promoted a campus day without white people. Brett Weinstein, a Bernie Sanders supporter, took issue with that, stating, on a college campus, one's right to speak or to be must never be based on skin color. That sparked student protests.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist teachers have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist teachers have got to go. Black power, black power, black power.
No, you, George. We don't want to hear a goddamn thing you have to say. You talk so much. No, you shut the up. No.
Weinstein resigned and won a $500,000 settlement from the college.
It's been going so hard for so long in a direction that's sort of insane that we can, in some small way, start to turn it back toward sanity.
Maybe he's up to something that you're not aware of.
Talk show host Adam Carolla, a Democrat turned Republican, says when he tried to speak about the left's supposed stranglehold on higher education, one college blocked him from appearing. Last July, he testified to Congress about Snowflake syndrome.
You need to expose your children to germs and dirt in the environment to build up their immune system. Our plan is put them in a bubble, keep them away from everything, and somehow they'll come out stronger when they emerge from the bubble. Well, that's not happening.
Carolla is now making a movie called No Safe Spaces.
Welcome to Utopia U. At Utopia University, there are no violent words to hurt me.
I will punch you if you're a fascist.
And, the notion of stifling people who disagree with you, and is as much as it all feels kind of good short term, like, hey, I don't like people arguing with me. Ultimately, it's going to degrade our society. See, I never went to college. I was a yes, but not other ideas, and that seems to fly in the face of ideas in general. So I'd be nice if college got back to this place of ideas, regardless of what the ideas were.
When we come back, there's hope. We report on the flip side of the coin, a surprisingly robust free speech mentality on some college campuses.
The American Legion. We're a powerful force for the nation. We're patriots through and through. We believe in our flag and all that it stands for. Our Constitution, our Pledge of Allegiance, our way of life are all fundamental to maintaining our freedom and the standing that we have as the greatest country on earth. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. Go to legion.org to find out more about the American Legion's commitment of service to America.
For all the attention given to outrageous cases of intolerance on college campuses, we found they may be the exception rather than the rule. We continue our look at Snowflake syndrome with a visit to a college campus with an amazing story. The University of Nevada, Reno turned out to be central to the free speech debate in 2017. 2 Americans from here became poster children for national controversies. One of them, the NFL's Colin Kaepernick, who led the controversial movement to kneel during the national anthem to protest white police killing unarmed black suspects. The other, college student Peter Sviatonovich, whose photo was circulated worldwide after he took part in a torch-carrying white supremacist march in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Free speech has been alive and well on every campus that I've been employed at.
Brett Simmons is an associate professor at the University of Nevada. He's not an official spokesman. He remembers first seeing Sviatonovich's photo in Charlottesville.
And as soon as I saw it on Twitter, I sent it, to people I know at administration. I said, I don't know if you've seen this, but you need to be aware of it. And they were aware of it. And then, of course, it hit national news. And we all learned who Peter was at that time. But you can imagine that as soon as it became public, people began to voice their opinions.
We found Sviatonovich at his apartment, not far from campus, where he's now a senior.
There was an online petition started, I think, Saturday morning to have me expelled. And it acquired about 20,000 signatures to have me expelled.
And then were you afraid you might get kicked out of school for this?
I was a little bit worried, but I believed I didn't do anything wrong. I still believe I didn't do anything wrong. I did something stupid, but not something to get me expelled.
And an amazing thing happened. The president of the university agreed that Sviatonovich, the self-described white nationalist, had every right to express his controversial views.
He said, in essence, that pretty much I didn't break the law, and the university is an inclusive environment for everyone of all political ideologies, of all beliefs, of course, from the far left to the far right, and that he has the right to continue and finish his education here, whether we like it or not.
Sviatonovich says he returned to class where he was ostracized, ignored, then managed to blend back in on a campus that largely tolerates diverse views, and where, after listening to differing views, he proceeded to change his own.
Your biggest mistake?
My biggest mistake is that I stupidly said I am a white nationalist, and at that time I did believe I was, but after looking back at the movement, looking back at what happened, I realized that calling myself a white nationalist is very wrong, and I no longer agree. I no longer see myself as such. It's, I think, a toxic idea with a very toxic creation. So I no longer see myself as a white nationalist, and I hope to distance myself away from that ideology and that movement as much as I can.
No one likes what he said. No one supports the fact that he was, promoting white supremacist views. But we do support his First Amendment rights to say it. And he should be protected to say things we don't agree with and things we don't like. And I'm quite proud that the university supported him. I'm extremely proud of our students.
I think that everybody has a voice on this campus, and especially since it is a big university, there's so many people that attend, so many different diverse groups of people. I feel like that everyone should feel comfortable in speaking out and having their voice be heard.
The ACLU's Lee Rowland says today she counsels students that trying to block offensive speech is neither constitutional nor effective.
The reason I tell students silencing isn't an option is because it always backfires. It allows people with hateful ideas to take on the mantle of martyrdom. If I would give young people one nugget of advice, it's not to censor, but to find your own voice and never underestimate the value of humor. It unites people, it disarms people, and it's the enemy of over-serious fascism and hate. One of my favorite YouTube videos that I show to anybody I get a chance to is a young musician who plays the sousaphone, heard that the KKK was coming to his town. And rather than hold a poster or, chant slogans, he just brought out his big brass tuba thing, and he kind of oompa, oompa, oompa right down the street next to the KKK march. Look, I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to react to hate with humor, because sometimes people don't have that luxury. But man, it's powerful when you can do it.
In the end, we found there are plenty of students and campuses standing firmly behind American free speech and rejecting snowflake syndrome.
I think people look at the cases of kids who are really bad, and really can't handle stuff, but I'd say in general, everyone else deals with it pretty well.
Because some people, they are easily triggered, but it's I guess that's just kind of everyone's trying to be politically correct and everything, and I don't know, most people aren't like that, I feel like.
I don't think it's just we're too soft or we're like a snowflake. I think we're more aware of different cultures and different sexualities than ever before, and it's becoming more accepted, and I think a lot of previous generations aren't as open-minded to that, and it's easy to just label that as being too soft.
Wherever you go, whether a professor's teaching or anything like that, it's always open-minded,
and they're very conscious that everybody else has their own opinions. So I personally, from my political standpoints, I've never felt, discriminated or closed off. I felt like I've always been able to speak.
There may even be overlapping points of agreement between the ACLU's Roland and entertainer Adam Carolla.
I think that's what students need to recognize, is that part of the curriculum is to flex those muscles. How do you deal with adversity? How do you deal with people you fundamentally disagree with? Because that's what the world looks like.
Hard work, focus, grit, intestinal fortitude, like all the stuff they're trying to wish away or argue away or cry away, those are constants, and those will never go away. There are certain things that could be considered progress, and I'm all for them, but there are also certain things you can never argue with, and that is just having a little bit of a thicker skin than you're currently wearing.
A recent Knight Foundation Gallup poll found college students value inclusiveness and free speech, but when asked to choose, said that promoting an inclusive society is more important than the constitutional right of free speech. Coming up on Full Measure, paying the dead. Our government is doing it, and it's costing us, the taxpayers, millions.